Hi Sunshines! Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about something that a lot of us look forward to when we come to uni, which is what NUS calls the Student Exchange Program, or exchange. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing the very first steps that you need to take towards planning for exchange, and that will include how you plan and choose for the unis or locations that you want, how to do module mapping, and also how to write your personal statement. I am also planning an entire series on exchange because I am on exchange next semester, so I'm currently going through the process of researching for my housing, for the actual module application, what to pack and all of that. So I'm definitely going to be bringing you guys through the entire process. So definitely stay tuned for that, but for now, we're just gonna rewind and go right to the very beginning of how it all starts. Just a couple of must-have disclaimers. What I'm showing in this video is not necessarily the best way to go about planning or applying for exchange. So it is based purely on my own experience, and I may or may not get some information wrong at some points because some things were updated, or I'm also human and I may have made some mistakes along the way. Also, just to note, I am from the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, so everything, all my information will be based on FAST faculty requirements. As usual, I'll be referring to my notes, so if you see me looking down, that is why. The very first step that you need to take before you apply is ensuring that you are eligible to apply for exchange. I know different faculties will have different requirements, but I believe the baseline for every NUS student is as follows. That you are a registered full-time undergrad at NUS, either a Singapore citizen or permanent resident. If you happen to be international or foreign student, then it says that you can apply, but it will only be considered on a case-by-case basis. You need to have successfully completed at least one semester upon application, so basically year 1, Sem 1. By the time that your partner uni accepts you, you need to be at least year 1, Sem 2. Your CAP needs to be a minimum of 3.0, and preferably you have no grade below C, so watch out year 1s, don't play too hard. And the last two, just ensure that you have the financial capability to apply for exchange and then live overseas, because some countries can get really expensive. And finally, good disciplinary record, which I believe just means that you don't have a record of cheating in every single exam or something. So these are all pretty basic requirements, and I think that by default most students should be able to pass them. So once you have verified this, do go look at your own faculty requirements. But for FAST, there wasn't really anything else, and we're just good to go for the application. Step 2 is narrowing down your choices for the partner unis that you want. And this can be really overwhelming because there's a huge range of unis in all sorts of different countries and locations. The first step would be to go to your faculty website and look at the number of available spots that each uni has. And by default, that list will also show all of the unis that have partnered with the faculty. So there's this long list that will show the uni and also the number of spots that they have available for exchange students to come. And this list is really, really helpful because it just shows you everything, all of your choices, and it also kind of gives you a hint as to how likely you are able to get that uni, because you know that if it only accepts one person, the chances of you getting it are quite low unless you have a very, very high cap. But if they have 5+ or 3 to 5 spots, then you do have a higher likelihood of getting the uni that you want. So after you have glanced through that list, I think it's good to start narrowing down what region you want to stay in. And while you're doing this, also shortlist some of the unis that kind of stand out to you or sound interesting to you, so that you have a mental filtering system. This is where you can start having your exchange document, a centralized place where you can just put all of your exchange information. You can use whatever works for you, Google Docs, Word doc. I used Excel because, I don't know, I just find that the organization is good when you have quite a lot of information that you want to itemize and break down. So yeah, this is how my exchange document looks like. In the very first page, this is where I put all my shortlisted unis. So you can see that I've narrowed mine down to the US. I also considered Hong Kong because I have some relatives there. vaguely interested in China, Canada, even Korea, then Netherlands, New Zealand, UK, etc. And within all these countries, then I just put a couple of unis that stood out to me. And actually how I kind of decided what unis I wanted to go to within the countries was I literally Googled best or top universities in XX. So I would Google like top universities, Netherlands ranking, and kind of just go by there, which may not be the best way, as I mentioned, but that's just like a very simple filtering system for me, and I honestly don't think that reputation matters a lot for exchange universities unless you do want something that is super impressive to put on your CV or whatnot. I knew that I wanted to go to Europe because it's a place that I've not traveled a lot before. I was also quite interested in exchanging in a place within Asia, like Hong Kong or China, but I eventually ruled that out because I just feel like it's places that I will definitely visit in the future or even near future, given that like I have family in Hong Kong and I have personally been to China, Shanghai quite a few times. And if I'm really honest, I was scared of the language barrier because my Cantonese and Chinese are really not up to scratch. Like I am not prepared to live in a place where like I look Chinese, but I can't really speak the daily language there, so I just thought that it would be really hard and just make living overseas even scarier than it kind of already is. I also eventually shortlisted New Zealand. It's just such a beautiful country, but yeah, I really wouldn't have minded, being able to travel to like beautiful countrysides and see the New Zealand scenery. Even though there isn't like a lot of traveling options, I would say like around New Zealand, as if you choose to exchange in Europe where there's really like a lot of different countries to hop around in. Okay, so now that you have a list of unis that you want to look at, you need to go in and see the academic requirements and look at what modules that you can take that are related to your major in NUS. How FAST describes it is that the credit earned in a normal semester load at the host uni counts for the same number of MC earned in a normal semester at NUS. This was a little bit confusing to me at first, but just think of it as like every uni will have its own version of NUS's MCs or modular credits, and you essentially have to make sure that the number of credits you take at your partner university is equivalent to you taking 20 MC at NUS. I'm going to use my Excel to demonstrate. Say for example you want to go to the University of Auckland. Then you'll go to their website and then you'll just have a perusal of whatever modules that they have offered for whatever semesters that are displayed. It won't be the confirmed list because you are applying like a year or a semester in advance. So these are not the modules that are like 100% offered in the semester that you're there. But it does give you an overview of what the modules are like, and some modules may still be available, so you never know. You can just pick out modules that are related to your major. For me, obviously I looked at CNM modules like television journalism, social media, and because University of Auckland, they operate by credits. So 60 credits per semester, and one module, one course of theirs is 15 credits, which means that for a normal workload for students at U of Auckland, they will take 4 classes, and that's their normal semester workload, and this would work out to be 20 MCs worth at NUS. So as long as you take 4 modules from U of Auckland, then that will fulfill the requirement of the exchange semester. So if I use another example, maybe Erasmus Rotterdam, which is where I will be exchanging next semester. For Europe, they operate on something called ECTs or ECs, and one course is worth 5 ECs. 30 ECs is their equivalent of like a normal workload in one semester, and one course is 5 ECs, therefore you have to take 6 to make up the normal workload, and these 30 ECs are the equivalent of NUS's 20 MCs, aka 4 to 5 modules. So at this point, you don't actually have to be super detailed in your module research because As I said, it's not the confirmed modules that you'll be taking, and it's kind of like a precursor to the actual planning that you'll be doing once you have the confirmed list of modules that you can take. So after you have compiled a list like that, then you will just input it into the study plan template that NUS gives you, where you have to list like your partner uni name, the semester you're applying, the title of the module, and the equivalent module you want to map back to in NUS. So a really common question is, what if you find modules that you want to take that are related to your major but there is no equivalent in NUS? For that, they usually have dummy codes for you to use, and a dummy code is basically a stand-in code for a module that doesn't exist in NUS because like the content is so different, right? There isn't such a module in NUS. For that, you will use the dummy code, and for NM that could be like NM3XXX for a level 3K module, or NM4XXX for a 4K module. At this point, I didn't know that my memory card had malfunctioned, so here I'm going to talk about an important point in the module mapping process. Credit transfer limit essentially looks at the restrictions each major has in terms of level 4K mods, which are of course the higher level mods, and also list out certain core mods or specific ones that the department only wants you to take within NUS, and you can't try to complete them during exchange on the pass-fail system. As you can see, this is different for each major and department, so it's important to go and check out the list from FAS and just cross-check to see if you have tried to map any mods that you can't, and the 4K MC credit limit. Okay, so my camera just malfunctioned, so I'm switching to phone. Sorry about the technical error. But now, after we've covered step 3, we can move on to step 4, which has to do with your personal statement. It is kind of one of those like fluffy personal statements because a lot of the reasons that you will put are pretty much applicable to like every person applying for exchange out there, but you can craft it in a way that is more individualized by linking it back to what you're studying, your major, your faculty, and also talking about like why you chose a specific location or university, and relate it back to like that place or what that uni is known for. It's not a very long statement, but you do want to make it sound very polished and like you know what you're doing and have concrete reasons to go overseas. So this is my sample. So in the first part, I brought up how I had come to know of SCP in the first place, which was through my sister Emma. She went to Sydney for her exchange. I just wanted to start off with something like anecdotal and like, oh, you know, I have been growing up hearing about SCP and like I'm really excited to go. And then I raised up the point of exposing me, like myself, to different cultures and different people. And then I listed down all of my choices, which were Auckland, Amsterdam, Erasmus, and also Xiongpo, I believe that's what it's called. It's French. Don't flame me for this. Then I mentioned obviously how I will step out of my comfort zone, wanting to interact with locals there, and this is where I try to link back to NM, a communication student. I really wanted to like interact with people from all walks. Yeah, just like discovering other people's stories. Then I touched a bit on academics. Things like exchange helps in cultivating a globalized perspective, which I feel is important to communications. Like you can't operate in silos in communications. You have to be aware of like current affairs and be aware of practices in like other countries as well if you want to like stay relevant, because NM is always adapting and like modernizing according to new tech and everything. And because they also want you to talk about how good of an ambassador to NUS and Singapore you're gonna be, you do have to write a bit about that as well, like how are you going to behave overseas and make sure that the good name of NUS is not tarnished. I just wrote, I will provide them with a glimpse of what life is like in Singapore and basically just be a decent human being, Personally, I do think that your cat matters like quite a bit more than what you write in your personal statement in deciding whether you get into exchange and into your choice of uni. As long as you don't write anything like super red flaggy, like I just want to go to exchange to travel around, definitely do not write things like that. Then just work more on trying to pull your cap up and just try to have a decent enough cap that you will be properly considered. But I do also want to note that exchange can be kind of a wild card because there are always stories of people who don't have super high caps getting their choice of unis, while people who have like first class 4.5 and above don't get their choice of uni, which when like both choices are the same. But I think on the whole anyway, it's always safer to have a better cap, and that will always give you a helping hand in getting the uni that you want to go to. This doesn't cover everything that you need in your application. You do still need to upload a couple of documents like your letter of undertaking, but it's quite straightforward, so you can just follow through the application form on the portal. And yeah, that is basically how you kickstart your exchange journey in NUS. That's all from me this week. Stay tuned for my exchange series, which will be coming up as soon as I finish all my own stuff. See you very soon. Bye.